the Red Sea, a narrow, shimmering ribbon of water. It separates Africa from the Arabian Peninsula, but its significance extends far beyond geography. This body of water is a lifeline of the global economy. Tankers laden with oil and goods navigate its waters daily. They carry the lifeblood of modern civilization. At the Red Sea's northern tip lies the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow passage is the gateway to the Persian Gulf. It's a choke point of immense strategic value. Control the strait, control the flow of a significant portion of the world's oil. Disrupt that flow and the consequences are felt globally. The Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz are not just waterways, they are arteries, pulsating with the energy that powers our world. But today this vital artery is under threat. The shadow of conflict hangs heavy over these waters. The USS Harry S. Truman, a Nimitz-class supercarrier, a symbol of American naval might, found itself in the crosshairs. The enemy, Houthi rebels, armed and emboldened by Iran, determined to disrupt the delicate balance of power in the region. The world watches, holding its breath. The stakes are incredibly high. The potential for a global crisis is very real. It began in the early days of 2025. The world watched in disbelief as news broke of a brazen attack in the Red Sea. The Houthi rebels, a militant group operating out of Yemen, had struck at the heart of American naval power, the USS Harry S. Truman. Iranian-made C-802 missiles and explosive-laden Shahed 136 drones ripped through the air, targeting the colossal warship. The attack, a clear escalation of the ongoing conflict in Yemen, sent shockwaves through the international community. It was a direct challenge to American dominance in the region. The Houthis, emboldened by their actions, claimed another victory. They boasted of downing an American MQ-9 Reaper drone, further fueling tensions in the region. The message was clear. The Houthis, backed by Iran, were a force to be reckoned with. They were willing to directly confront the United States and its allies. The world held its breath. Would this be the spark that ignites a larger conflagration? The attack on the USS Truman was a declaration of war. The response from the White House was swift and furious. President Trump, known for his aggressive foreign policy, vowed retaliation. "We will not tolerate attacks on American interests," he thundered from the Oval Office. "The Houthis will face the full might of the United States military." Within hours, the U.S. Carl Vinson, another Nimitz-class supercarrier, was ordered to the Red Sea. It was a show of force, a clear signal that America would not be intimidated. But the military preparations went far beyond the deployment of a single carrier. B-2 stealth bombers, capable of delivering massive payloads with pinpoint accuracy, were put on high alert. Squadrons of F-18 fighter jets, armed with a deadly array of missiles and bombs, were prepped for immediate deployment. And on the ground, Tomahawk cruise missiles, capable of striking targets hundreds of miles away, were readied for launch. The American military machine, vast and powerful, was beginning to stir. The world watched nervously, bracing for the inevitable. The tension in the Red Sea was palpable. The USS Harry S. Truman, still reeling from the initial Houthi attack, remained on high alert. The crew, battle-tested and ready, scanned the skies for any sign of danger. Then on January 6th, it happened. The Houthis, emboldened by their previous attack, launched another wave of missiles and drones. This time, however, they were met with the full fury of the American military. The USS Gravely, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer equipped with the advanced Aegis combat system, sprang into action. Its powerful radar tracked the incoming projectiles, feeding targeting data to nearby F-18s. The sky erupted in a cacophony of explosions as American interceptors ripped through the air, detonating the Houthi missiles and drones before they could reach their targets. The USS Truman, its defenses holding strong, emerged from the attack unscathed. The retaliation was immediate and devastating. American warships and fighter jets unleashed a barrage of missiles and bombs on known Houthi positions in Yemen. Command and control centers were obliterated. Weapons depots were reduced to smoldering craters. The message was clear. America would not be provoked. The consequences for attacking the United States were severe. The Houthi attacks on the USS Truman were not the actions of a rogue group. Behind the scenes, a more powerful player was at work: Iran. Iran had long provided the Houthis with weapons and training, using them as proxies in their ongoing struggle for regional dominance. The sophisticated C-802 missiles and Shahed 136 drones used in the attacks were clear evidence of Iran's involvement. For Iran, the Red Sea conflict represented an opportunity to strike at American interests and undermine its influence in the region. By arming and supporting the Houthis, Iran could exert pressure on Saudi Arabia, a key American ally, and disrupt the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. The United States found itself in a precarious position. A full-blown war with Iran was unthinkable, but inaction would be perceived as weakness. The Trump administration was forced to walk a tightrope, attempting to deter further Iranian aggression without sparking a wider conflict. The Red Sea conflict sent shockwaves across the globe. World leaders watched with growing concern as the situation escalated. The potential for a regional conflict with global implications was all too real. Russia, a longtime ally of Iran, condemned the American airstrikes in Yemen, but stopped short of offering direct military support to the Houthis. The Kremlin deployed warships to the Mediterranean Sea, ostensibly to monitor the situation, but also to send a message to the United States. Russia was watching, and it would not tolerate any infringement on its interests in the region. The European Union, caught between its economic dependence on Middle Eastern oil and its commitment to international law, urged restraint from all sides. The EU called for a diplomatic solution to the crisis, but struggled to exert any real influence over the situation. The Red Sea conflict had become a dangerous game of chess, with global powers maneuvering for position. The world held its breath, hoping that cooler heads would prevail. The conflict in the Red Sea sent ripples of fear through the global economy. The reason was simple: oil. The Strait of Hormuz, located at the northern tip of the Red Sea, is the world's most important oil choke point. Nearly 20% of the world's oil supply passes through this narrow waterway. Any disruption to the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz would have catastrophic consequences. Oil prices would skyrocket, sending shockwaves through the global economy. Countries dependent on Middle Eastern oil would face shortages and economic hardship. The Houthi attacks on the USS Truman served as a stark reminder of the fragility of the global oil supply chain. Even the threat of further conflict was enough to send oil prices soaring. Investors were jittery and businesses were bracing for the worst. The Red Sea conflict was no longer just a regional crisis. It had become a global economic threat, one that had the potential to plunge the world into recession. Just as tensions seemed to be easing, the conflict in the Red Sea erupted again. On April 2, 2025, the Houthis launched a fresh wave of attacks, this time targeting not only the USS Truman and its escorts, but also Israeli-linked ships in the Red Sea. The attacks were a direct response to the ongoing Israeli blockade of humanitarian aid to Gaza, imposed on March 2, 2025. The Houthis, aligning themselves with the Palestinian cause, vowed to break the blockade by any means necessary. President Trump, angered by the renewed attacks, ordered decisive military action against the Houthis. On March 15, 2025, American forces launched a series of airstrikes against Houthi strongholds in Yemen, targeting their military infrastructure and leadership. The escalation of the conflict had devastating consequences. Houthi spokesman Yahya Saree reported 62 civilian casualties and 149 wounded in the American airstrikes. The United Nations condemned the attacks, urging all sides to show restraint and return to the negotiating table. As of April 4, 2025, the situation in the Red Sea remains extremely volatile. The Houthis, despite suffering heavy losses, remain defiant. They vow to continue their attacks until the Israeli blockade of Gaza is lifted and American aggression ceases. The United States, caught in a quagmire of its own making, faces a difficult choice: escalate the conflict further, risking a wider war with Iran and further destabilizing the region, or seek a diplomatic solution, potentially emboldening the Houthis and their Iranian backers. The world watches with bated breath. The Red Sea, once a symbol of trade and prosperity, has become a flashpoint for global conflict. The stakes have never been higher. The potential for a catastrophic war, one that could draw in superpowers and disrupt the global economy, is all too real. The question is, can cooler heads prevail, or are we on the brink of a new era of conflict and instability? Only time will tell.